have a dream, oh, I have a dream. Red, white, and blue, fly free, fly free. I believe, oh, I believe. Will you dream with me?
Good morning, everyone out there. Welcome to Changing Times. It is Wednesday, February the 22nd. 2023. We are live at the Axe Media Group headquarters in Springfield, Missouri. And I am Lynn Morris.
And I'm Don Blackard.
Yes, you are. And we have a tremendous guest. She's been on before, a good friend of ours, Synova Cantrell. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Is your daughter not going to be in today? Is she playing with the dogs?
She's playing with the puppies.
We got 3 puppies out there, and so she's playing with the puppies. And I thought she was going to help us.
Yeah.
Because I saw you all doing your nails.
Yeah.
Your little daughter is doing nails. Because it's important to be on live. Our screens are out, so we can't see ourselves. Hopefully, everyone around the country and the world are seeing us. But you know, the ladies were doing their nails out there. So yeah. I thought that was cute. She was doing hers too. So
yeah, we got it. Hers are prettier than mine. I was saying she's got the little sprinkles and like cupcakes and things.
Well, I tell you what, today I want people to get a pencil and paper out. Get it out now, because this is a subject that we're going to be talking about, mental health, and this is something that affects a lot of people. Yeah. Jody, our volunteer producer, is showing us on our cell phone. We can see us, and so we appreciate that. So we are really doing the show, but you know, that's affecting a lot of people. Millions of people around the world is facing some type of mental health issue, and it could be minor things, just some anxieties, maybe some depression could be serious. Just all kinds of disorders, sleep disorders. You were talking about heart palpitations. I mean, all those things can affect our life and our happiness and our outcomes and how long you live and everything else. And so I think, Synova, you've been really researching this and things like this. I want the people to know a little bit about you. You know, you are just a powerful an award-winning writer. I mean, you've written you've published 13 books?
Yeah.
13 books. You've probably written several other types of pamphlets and books and things like that. And then you're a speaker. You go out and speak to different groups. You also have a business to where you help other writers.
Yes.
I mean, because writing that first book, there's a lot of people that want to write, but they don't know how to get started. And so you help do that. That's an important thing. And then you're a life coach, and that's what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And you kind of switched because you were doing real murder mysteries and dangerous type stuff, and now you're doing life coaching. That could be dangerous too.
Yes.
but anyway, I mean, that's good. And then you've had blogs. I know that one blog that you had when you're writing your books. Had over 500,000 people on the blog. We were talking about doing some type of blog for Changing Times and for Axe Ministry Group and stuff like that. So the topic today is mental health. And I think, you know, you picked the topic of making why is mental health should be a priority? Why should it be a priority? And I think that's where we're going to start today is talk about why do we make that a priority? And what's the consequences if we don't? So we'll kind of let you get started, and we'll just kind of ask some questions.
Okay.
Well, I want to say something first. So Synova, she made a big move because she was successful going down a road that she had really built and dedicated a lot of time and a lot of energy to. But just like talking about mental health, she wanted to put her energy into something else. And a lot of people have had to make this choice in life to, you know, not to move forward in the direction that they know God is calling them.
Right.
And I think of Lynn, like Sean Eskinosi, for example. He was a lawyer and now he's doing nonprofit chocolate. There's a lot of very successful people who were successful, but it's a different kind of success because it feeds your soul and it helps your mental state and all of that kind of stuff. And so when you're listening to her today, maybe you're going down a road that is causing you to have mental health problems,
right,
and you're being called somewhere else. You know, listen to her in that changing direction.
Right. That's very good. I mean, exactly right. So, okay. So Nova, so where do we go to begin with?
Well, to address what she said, it took me 18 months to really get things determined that I'm going to change. And the bad thing is I still have some leftover things. I still got some Hollywood directors knocking on my door. I've got some film crews flying in. I've got all these different things. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, but I'm doing this now, and so it's really hard because for one, you're like, I've worked so hard, you hate to let it go. And for two, you're thinking, I don't know if I have the strength to build again. I don't know if I have the fortitude to do this again. But I really felt like after some things were revealed to me, if I didn't work on these people's, I was going as a victim's advocate. So if I didn't work on these people's mindsets, I helped solve their case. I brought them Hollywood directors to tell their story. And yet it's like these people lost their identity because that nobody worked on their mind. Nobody worked on their thought processes. And it's like I took their whole being away. And I really realized that all of the study I had done for self-help and psychology and biochemistry and things could be put to better use. And so that's the reason why I decided to start transitioning away. But the thing with it is all of that is about your mindset and your mental health. I really feel like the one person that I worked the hardest for, it felt like she stabbed me in the back, but I realized it wasn't that. She just doesn't know what to do with herself now. And she is so out of her mind with things. I told my husband, I said, if something doesn't happen to change her, I'm afraid she's going to pass away, because she had been fighting this fight for 54 years. And so I just stripped it away from her. And now she has nothing. She has alienated all of her family, all of her friends, her grandkids. And so I'm like, I've got to work on her mental health, because if somebody doesn't, and I can't change her mental health, she has to decide to. But I feel like that was kind of the determining factor to tell me that this is important. I need to be doing this. And it's the same basic concept with our mental health. It has to be our priority because we are a threefold being. Whether you're religious or not, you realize that there's something else about you. When you look out of your eyes, you realize that there's something looking out. We are not this physical being. It's part of us, but it's not us. There's something else. It's your spirit, it's your soul. And if we go and we get success in our business or in our education or in our family life or whatever, but we lose our mental health, we lose all of it. Because our mental health is not just a piece of us, it is us. See, what is our mind? It's not our brains inside of our head. Our mind is something other than that electronic switching station in our skull, okay? It is our essence of who we are. And if we don't have a good control over our mental health, it affects every single thing we do. And I put a reference of Mark 8:36, what shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? That is where we want to understand that we think of this scripture as someone who has reached for riches all of their life, and they have given up everything else, okay? But I look at this a little bit different. That is, yes, talking about someone who has put riches ahead of his family or her health or her friends or whatever. But it says, what shall it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? He's talking about everybody. He's not just talking about those that are so focused on being the next billionaire that they lose everything. He's talking about the daily individuals who literally put everything beyond and ahead of their own health and beyond their relationship with God. He's talking about us. He's not talking about just those that are greedy and trying to reach for success and not doing what they need to for their kids, because we always have this mindset that, it's this horrible Grinch type person but he's talking to all of us. He's saying, listen up. We, as any type of whatever level your income is, if you don't watch it, you're going to end up putting things before your mental health. You're going to put things before your prayer life. You're going to put things before God. You're going to put things before your children. And you really got to watch that. So he's talking to everybody. But I came across, we were talking about, mental health. And then I started looking up some statistics. They were very startling. Now, some of these statistics came from the National Center for Health, Statista, I think is how you say that, .com. And there was a couple other places. There was Forbes.com. But 22% of adults have major depression symptoms in January of 2023. 22%. That's up from 8% of adults in 2018. Now, we're talking millions and millions of people. 11.5% of youth under the age of 18 are experiencing major depression symptoms versus 8.2% of youth in 2019. So it went from 8.2 to 11.5% of our kids. Now, that is 2.7 million children. And that is staggering. 2.7 million children in the richest nation on the planet are having major depressive symptoms. Now, children get bummed out sometimes, over funny things, their friend was mean at them at school or this or that. But the problem is they're not talking about being down or bummed one day. They're talking about literally major depressive symptoms, suicidal tendencies, thoughts like that. And so we're talking major depression in our children, and we have got to do something. So this is why do we need to put it a priority? That should be it. As adults, we think, oh, well, it is not that big a deal for me. But if you're not going to change your mental health and put it a priority for yourself, put it a priority because of the kids.
Absolutely.
Be there for the kids, because 2.7 million kids, it just blows my mind. 2.7 million children who should be living happy and free and going to school and coming home and playing and talking to their friends, and should be worrying about what kind of backpack they get for school. Kids that shouldn't be worrying about things, they are having major depression symptoms. And this is why I felt like we need to make it a priority.
It sure would be hard to be a happy kid if you had depressed parents.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, for both of you, Don and Synova, you know what I feel like is we have a real culture problem in this country. Yes, we do. And it's getting worse. I was just listening to talk radio the last few days, and every day we've got these sex changes going on. We have physicians, and we have great physicians, a great medical system in this country, but we have physicians that actually will condone and help a young person that's confused, that they could be 10, 12 years old. They could even be less than that. And they will help them do sex changes, hormonal or surgery, and they're irreversible. And parents will allow it. And schools don't seem to discourage it. I mean, we just seem to really be messed up. This culture is messed up. This society is messed up.
Well, it's the only time we've ever given kids whatever they want, and that's not parenting. That's not good guidance.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. God's plan, we all know this, God's plan was when he created you. So he made you unique to everybody else that's born. But then you're either a boy or a girl. And on your birth certificate is what you are. And that's what you are. Okay. And I just don't understand how people, parents and grandparents would allow, and friends would allow a child that they know in their family to change sexes and stuff like that. That just shows you, and this is all part of mental health. And this is why we have so many mass murders and at shopping centers and movie theaters and concerts and parades and everything else. We have a lot of mental health issues, and I don't really think our government is working on it very well.
No. Well, and this is something that I usually, I don't feel is free to talk about on other shows, but this is a, Acts ministry, as in like the book of Acts. But people want to discount God. They want to take God and religion out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I believe religion is not necessarily good. I believe you need to have a relationship. Religion is a bunch of man-made laws. Relationship with your creator is a whole different thing. And so I believe that by them taking out God and taking out religion, they're like, separate everything out that has anything to do with spirituality. Take it out. They have taken 1/3 of our being out.
Mm-hmm.
See, we have a spirit and a soul that is spiritual. We can't see those things. And if you believe in religion or God or not, it at least gave somebody an understanding of 2/3 of their self. You know what I mean? It at least gave them a moral compass to go by. It at least gave them someone to turn to in prayer when they had a mental health crisis. When you take that out, whether you believe in it or not, when you take it out, you're taking out our access and our understanding and our moral compass to 2/3 of our being. So you've got a bunch of people who don't know who they are. You've got a bunch of people who are willing to kill people. You have a lot of people that are willing to do drugs because they hate this life so bad and they don't know anything else to turn to, because we have taken the one key thing. I was talking to an atheist the other day and I said, you do what you want to do. I said, but here's the thing. You have to admit that when you give a group of people a moral compass through religious teachings, when you give them a good moral compass, the whole society, it behaves better. The whole society functions better. And they're like, yeah, I never thought of it that way. And I said, well, there's got to be a reason for that. See, humans, we need a moral compass. We need that ability to turn to a source higher than ourselves when we can't do no more. We are in need. Our person, our body, our physical person, our spiritual person needs that. And our mental health is going to continue to deteriorate as a society because we have taken out the source. We have unplugged from the source of the universe. And that is where I feel like our mental health, does that mean that people that are religious don't have mental health problems? Yes, it does. It does.
Well, we know where to turn to.
Exactly.
So yesterday I was driving to work and, it was a stressful day. And who I turned to is the Holy Spirit. And I was just like, Lord, the sun was coming up. And I just had, a brief little 15-second, like, Lord, I need you today. And right then the song came on, blessed, I'm so blessed. I feel this heartbeat in my chest. Well, since I scan hearts, it was like, Lord, you're speaking to me, right now. And just the ease of the stress just kind of rolled off on me. And that's what you're saying. People don't know where to turn, or they don't believe in the power of prayer, or they don't have that relationship with the Holy Spirit, sitting in the co-pilot seat with them in life. And so they turn to the drugs and the emptiness, and they let the depression eat them up.
And that leads right into this. I brought a camera because
nice one.
I know that we are on film as well. We're not just audio. The first thing on our list, we asked, how can we improve our mental state? So I didn't feel right in saying, okay, let's make this a priority, but then not tell you some things to tell you how. Now, I want you to look at this camera. I'm going to try to get it up here where you can see it. This lens right here, okay, can you see it? There you go. Okay, this lens right here, we know when you use this camera that it's going to take a photo of whatever's in front of the camera, right? It doesn't take a photo of what's over here or what's behind. It takes a photo of what's in front of this. Now, this is a pretty good lens, so it'll zoom in, it'll zoom out, so it'll, it's got a little bit of an angle here, but it's only going to see what's in front of this lens, okay? The reason why I brought this is because I want you guys to understand that our brains work the same way, okay? Our brains have something I call the RAS. It's right at the back of your brain. It's called the reticular activating system, okay? Now that reticular activating system is constantly doing two things. It's trying to focus on what it thinks is important, and it's trying to get rid of and throw out all the things that it thinks is irrelevant. Now, what we think is important comes from all of the pre-programming that's in our subconscious mind, all of the things that we are trained to think is important. How many times have you went and bought a new car, and then you turn around and you see that car everywhere? Okay, that car was already there. It was just your brain didn't think it was important, so it wasn't paying attention. See, there's 11 million bits of information coming through to our brain at any given moment in time. Now, you're not paying attention to the blood pumping through your hand. I don't pay attention to my hand unless it's hurting. Then I'll notice, I'm like, oh, I got fibromyalgia, so then I'll pay attention to my hand. But we don't pay attention to those things because that RAS says it's not important at the moment, okay? When you have your camera turned to all of the negativity, that is all you're going to see, and that's all your brain is going to find more of, okay? When you go and you are looking at the news constantly, you're constantly staying around your negative friends, you're constantly reading the newspaper, you're constantly dwelling on the finances, whatever financial situation in, you're constantly dwelling on the hecticness of the day, your schedule, whatever the problems are. When you focus on just the problems, that's all your brain is going to look for. Because see, that RAS is connected to your emotions. So if you have a great emotional response, that reticular activating system thinks, oh, this is an important bit of information. And so it's going to think, okay, this is important, so I'm going to focus on it. And you're going to literally look for more of those things that gives you that emotional response. So this is where you really want to be careful, because you take this camera to an event, you take it to a party, and you take pictures of the birthday kid blowing out candles and all of the kids jumping in happy and squealing and opening presents. You are going to see that this was a wonderful party. You're going to look back and it's a wonderful party. You take that same thing and you turn the camera back maybe to the kitchen where maybe the parents are arguing, or where somebody's upset because there's a mess of all the wrapping paper. You're going to look back on that and think, man, what a mess, what a chaos, and you're going to think it was bad. Well, what happened? It's the same party, but this lens was turned to different things. So my kids and I have a saying, and I would like to say that I can do this instantly and that I have no problem doing this. But we have a saying called turn your camera. Anytime mom gets gripey and stressed, my daughter's like, turn your camera, mom. I'm like, yes, I know. Yes, I'm trying. And I'm getting better at turning it faster. Used to you would stew on things for a few days and then finally turn your camera. Now I'm getting to where I can stew for a few minutes and turn my camera. But the thing with your brain is it's so amazing what God has created. Your brain, if you hear of something, somebody says, oh, well, they're hardwired to do that. Well, if you think about a cord that you plug in, there is the rubber sheath, and then there's electrical cords inside. Well, that's the way your brain is. Your brain has, it's wanting to switch over as much as it can to the subconscious mind to create more efficiency. So when you do things once or twice, it might be hard for you to turn your camera. But then after a certain period of time, your brain literally hardwires itself, okay? You've got these little synapses here. You've got the nerve endings. They have to jump that, okay? Well, what happens after you do something so many times? Your brain says, okay, this is something I can turn over to the subconscious. It wraps it in a sheath of fat. So that's one of the reasons why it's so hard for addicts to break their addiction and things like that, because it's hardwired and they've got to build a new pattern and let that little path decay and build this one up. Okay. Well, if you learn to turn your camera and you do it often enough, you're literally going to hardwire yourself to do that. And so that was the first thing I put on my list of how can you improve your mental state. Turn your camera and continue to routinely do that until you have built a new pathway, a new neural pathway in your brain.
So many people hop on their mental stuff like it's a train.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, hop off the train, hop
Get
off the train.
Yeah.
Because you're your own worst enemy when it comes to that. And when people say they don't have time, somehow they find the time to dwell and let it consume them and all of that. And there is a big thing. If you can't control it, let it go. The only thing you can control is yourself. And so I really do like that, because you have to just, flip the switch and turn your camera.
It's not easy.
Hey, Synova, you also had like daily meditation prayer, knowing your body. Kind of go over, because we're going to be taking a break here pretty soon. Pretty well time. Okay. So just real quickly, let's talk about daily meditation prayer and paying attention to your own body. And then we'll kind of take a break.
Okay. Daily meditation and prayer. I did a study on what meditation does for the body and the brain, and 15 minutes of quiet, whether it is prayer time, whether it's sitting there in meditation, whether it's just sitting and looking at God's creation and nature, whatever it is, 15 minutes can drastically change your mental health and drastically change your biochemistry. It can literally change. After the break, we can talk about how your thoughts create your biochemistry in your body. But 15 minutes can literally be a difference of life and death. You can save yourself and live years longer just by going and having 15 minutes every day of quiet prayer time.
Very good. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about our three sponsors. And the first one is Brad Pistow. I don't have my notes with me, so I'm going to go off memory. That's going to be dangerous, Don. But, Brad Pistow is a good friend of ours, and he's a certified fiduciary financial planner located in Ozark, Missouri on Farmer Road. And his phone number, if you've got that pencil and paper out there, be sure and write this down. It's 417-581-9222. 417-581-9222. Tomorrow, Jan and I will be there, I think at 2:30 or 3:30 at his office, and we'll be going over our annual health checkup, as what I call a health checkup, but it's actually our financial retirement checkup, and with Brad, and we'll spend time talking about different things that have been going on this last year, and then what's going on this coming year, 23, and stuff like that. This is type of things that he really offers and is extremely, extremely good. And so we really appreciate Brad Pistow. And if you call that number, he'll give you, they'll give you a book, Safe Money Matters, or they'll give you a book called Bulletproof, one of those two books. And so he's one of our financial planners. And then another financial planner is another sponsor of ours is Youngblood Motor Group. They're located on South Campbell, and they have Nissans and Kias on one side. They have used cars on the other side. And John Whittaker has been here several times. He's very interesting. He knows a lot about cars. And he's talked to us about whether you buy, you lease, buy used, buy new, do you buy electric, do you buy hybrid, all those type of things. And they've been in business over 43 years, one of the longest family-owned dealerships in Southwest Missouri. I bought my last two cars from Youngblood Motor Group, and we'll be buying my next one from him. And then the third sponsor is
Louis Michael.
And Louis is our sub co-host.
Yes.
And then also he is a realtor for the firm down in Ozark, Missouri. And every time he makes a sale, he will actually, we made this deal on the studio. He actually will make have a block party. He'll have a block party, and he will perform Elvis songs for all your new neighbors that you've never known, and now you're going to know them really well. And so he does that, but he sells and helps buy homes and farms and things like that. And also, he has Choosing to Live, his nonprofit. He's very passionate about that, and he wants people to choose life, not death, and trying to prevent suicides. And so that's our sponsors. And so, we can go ahead back and really kind of continue on. I hope you guys are taking notes, because we've got meditation prayer, and then we also have paying attention to your body and healthy eating. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, continuing with the meditation and the prayer, I've got all my notes from different studies that I've done. But the meditation and the prayer, what I found in my studies is they have 60-year-old people that have spent the last 20 years in 15 minutes of meditation and prayer, and they've done a control group, and I don't know how they figure all these things out, but they literally have taken 60-year-olds that do not meditate, do not get quiet, just run full steam ahead, and then they've taken 60-year-old brains that literally 15 minutes of quiet every day, whatever it is. And they say that the brain structure, when you do 15 minutes a day, you literally increase your gray matter. So you're literally increasing your brain's capacity of being able to work efficiently. And they have proven that those that spend 15 minutes a day every day, they have the brain capacity of a 25-year-old. So you've literally increased your brain capacity. So it's like, if we could teach people this before they start getting health problems, I really feel like we could help lower the cases of different mental health issues. We could lower the cases, of dementia and Alzheimer's and all these things, because we're taking time for our brain health. 15 minutes isn't that long. 15 minutes of quiet, 15 minutes of prayer, 15 minutes is all it takes to literally make your brain grow and heal itself. And that's what it needs. You think, well, I sleep for 8 hours a night. Well, your brain's not shut off. Your brain works harder. And this is something that it just popped in. It's not really necessarily about meditation and prayer, but when she said something about getting on that train of stress, because it just builds. It's like a snowball. It just gets bigger and bigger as it goes downhill. You get to the point where you feel like you can't think straight. The reason being is your brain heats up 2 or 3 degrees. You literally, as you get stressed and you pump too much cortisol through your body as stress, your brain literally heats up 2 to 3 degrees. So have you ever had one of those emotional meltdowns where you feel like your brain's on fire? It literally is. And so we are damaging our brains. The least we can do is take 15 minutes to let it repair itself. Okay, so this is where meditation and prayer, and then of course, as Christians, we believe that prayer, we're inviting God in, and He can do some repairs too. Right. But the thing with it is I always tell people, I'm like, I don't care if you're religious or not. I'm going to tell you, this is what the science say. You say you believe in science. Science tells you need 15 minutes of prayer and meditation a day. Whatever denomination you are, or a non-denomination, because I have a lot of atheists that I end up contending with, and I'm like, I'm not going to beat you over the head with my Bible. I'm going to use what you have, and I'm going to show you God in it, because God's there, whether you want to see it or not. So, but what we want to talk about next is paying attention to your body and healthy eating. When you have a thought, your brain sends out neurochemicals to your body. So if it's a stressful, negative thought, it's going to send out hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. All of those things are great when you're fighting a bear. But when you have them on a regular basis, they start destroying you from the inside out. I did some research. When you've got an overdose of cortisol, your stomach stops digesting food. Your brain heats up 2 or 3 degrees. Your lungs start overworking. Your heart starts overworking. All of the oxygen is pumped to your arms and your legs because it thinks you're going to run or fight. Your cells stop reproducing. Your muscle tissue stops reproducing. Everything stops redoing what it's supposed to be doing to, continue life. Your kidneys and your liver stops filtering toxins out of your body. You literally start taking oxygen from the hippocampus, which is the conscious part of the mind that helps you make your higher functioning, your decision makings and things. You start taking oxygen from the hippocampus and start putting it back towards the lungs and the legs and the arms. Okay. So you literally, the only thing that gets pepped up in your brain at that time, besides the temperature, is the amygdala. That's the fear center. Okay. So that fear center starts getting on overdrive. Your decision making gets shut down and your body starts decaying from the inside out. Okay. And so you literally, when you start thinking and getting on that train of negativity, you are literally killing yourself from the inside out. Now, I'm telling you this, I'm not saying that it's easy to do, but we must turn our camera. We've got to listen to our bodies. When we get to the point where we're so stressed that we cannot do anymore, we've got to listen. You know, your body will tell you there's certain times and certain things that your body does to say, hey, I'm not functioning very well. Okay.
And that's not a time to push through.
No. And that's my problem. See, I have fibromyalgia and I have 7 different spots damaged in my spine. I've got a cane and stuff in the car. So if I couldn't walk today, I had it just in case, because it's raining and that's when it hurts the most, you know. And I've got this mindset of just push through, push through, push through. I don't pay attention to my pain levels. I don't pay attention. I just go till I can't go no more. And I've been actively working with my doctor to try to remind myself, okay, this is telling me something. I've got to do something. But the problem is we don't do that. We push through. And pushing through is sometimes you have to. You know, we've got children. Sometimes you have to push through and do what they need done. But then we must find a few minutes somewhere else to find that 15 minutes, okay? Healthy eating. This is something that I study because I study all the biochemistry stuff. You are what you eat. We've all heard that. So don't be fast, quick, or cheap is what I've heard. You know, don't be fast, quick, or cheap. But the thing is you go and you research what your body does with that food. You are literally, that hamburger you had from McDonald's might become the muscle in your arm. You know, it might become your lung tissue. It might become some of your brain tissue. So you're thinking, I'm putting this slop in my mouth. I'm going to digest it. I'm going to get energy from it and go. Well, it's more than that. Your body literally, your brain cells in your head might be that cheeseburger from that greasy burger joint, you know. And so eating healthy, and this is something that I'm trying to teach my kids, and everything that's labeled healthy is not. It's not.
So Synova is me eating a Baby Ruth. Could that be into my heart? I mean, could I transfer that into heart tissue?
Mm-hmm. I've been trying to look at it a lot differently on the food for fuel.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is just calories. It's not doing anything positive for you. Yeah. It is just getting fuel to keep you going. But now the research is really turning to nutrigenomics, that food turns on our genetics.
Exactly.
And so when our mom told us to eat our broccoli, sulforaphane, it was actually turning on our DNA. You and me take Protandim, so we know all about that. Yeah. But it's getting so much deeper into that. And I've been talking to a lot of doctors and a lot of surgeons that have to work these 12-hour shifts. And we kind of all end up going to the same thing, a high protein shake, good fruits in the morning, you know, just properly balanced breakfast, and then not eating just because we want to eat some little nuts as snacks, you know, some vegetables, a light salad, and then have like fish for dinner. Right. So it's not because people love to drink protein shakes with the good plant-based protein and all of that. It's that eventually your body's like, this is what I need. Yes, this makes me feel good. This makes me feel good hours later after I've done it. Where if I got up and wanted to have what I want to have with whipped cream and pancakes, it was National Pancake Week this week. No, I would be asleep in 2 hours, like not being able to give my best.
Yeah. And that's people don't understand. Everything is connected, and that's the reason why our mental health is so bad. We don't have anything to address the spiritual. We don't have anything to address our issues that we need to pray to somebody higher. We don't have anything for that. And then our food is just turned to garbage. You know, even the good nutritious food. I was listening to a doctor who was saying that just our soil has been so overproduced that the nutrients aren't there. And he's like, you could eat the same plate of vegetables here and then go to Europe and eat a plate of vegetables. And he's like, they just taste so much different. And it's because we have been overprocessed. But what we don't understand is all of that is going to affect your mental health. How is your brain going to function if all it has is junk to build its component parts? You know, when we buy a vehicle, you know, he's talking about buying your vehicle from Nissan or whatever it was. How would you feel if you walked in there and you paid your hard-earned money for something that all of the component parts were made out of junk? You know, you wouldn't want to buy it. It wouldn't function properly, and you would know why. It's made out of nothing but duct tape and bamboo, like they do. Somehow they did on Gilligan's Island. Everything was bamboo and twigs. I was like, oh, that's fabulous.
Hey, Synova, we'll probably talk to Jim Whining, our CEO of Acts Ministry, and see if we can make this show an hour and 45 minutes when we have you on, because we're going to run out of time. But I'm going to just mention some other things, and then I want you to tell people where to get help, because I think that's extremely important. But you've actually put down spend time outdoors. It's going to be spring here before we know it, hopefully sooner than later. And we all encourage everyone to get out and just smell the fresh air and walk. And I know Don loves to garden. Do something outside. I like my koi garden. I've got my koi fish and my waterfall and my water lilies. And so you have things you like to do. So that's really important. You also put keep a gratitude journal.
Yes. I
know that you've actually kind of done a whole series on finding gratitude. Everything out there, there's all those negative things, but you can always pick up that gratitude item and just know that you're blessed every day. Right. Yeah. And then healthy eating, we just talked about. So getting help, what can people do to get help?
Well, there's a lot of things that you can get for help. Of course, we're talking to predominantly Christian or religious people on this show. Get help with your pastor. Get help with your layperson. Get help by praying and meditation and talking to God. Get your help in the scriptures. But beyond, in a religious sense, there's a lot of insurance companies that will pay for online therapy. So you literally call someone through Zoom, and you have a video call with a therapist. One of my best friends, her therapy lady calls every Tuesday morning, and they have a Zoom call every Tuesday morning. And so, I mean, you think about that how blessed is that? We live in a society that used to, in the 80s, all the cartoon superheroes talked to their watches, and it was so cool. We live in that time now. So we have the tools, and this is something the doctor's been telling me. You have tools to help with your pain and your fibromyalgia. You need to use them. And it's hard for me because I'm 42 years old and I'm having to use some tools that grandparents have to use, but you have to get that ego out of the way and use the tools that are available for you. Talk to your doctor. And then, of course, there's the suicide hotlines. This is something I want to try to look at the camera. I feel rude talking to the camera when I got people sitting here behind me, but I'm going to talk to the camera right now. You are on this planet for a reason. You are loved. There is a reason for your being. There's a purpose for you to be here. See, nothing in nature is created by accident. Every tree grows to its highest potential. Humans have a tendency to stop halfway. We think, oh, well, what's the use? You are loved by someone higher than anything that we can understand. You are loved by the universe itself. Do not think about ending your purpose here, because you have a reason to be here. If you need to call a suicide hotline, please do. I believe there's one at 988. So many veterans, 1 in 3 veterans have suicidal tendencies. You fought for this country. You are a hero. We need more heroes in this world. We don't need less.
Amen.
So There's my little message to the people. You are here for a reason. You are loved. We need you here.
Oh, thanks for saying that. This afternoon at 4:00, we have actually a Zoom and a hybrid meeting, a Zoom, and I'll be there in person at the police department at Nixa, Missouri. We have a suicide coalition in Christian County. We got several $100,000 grant. It's a tremendous thing. And, in 2 years ago in Christian County, we had 4 students kill themselves. 4. So we've got to continue to prevent that. That's just senseless. It's just a shame to lose a life that had a purpose.
Yeah.
And so we're going to work on that. And then let's just see, it just says how changing your focus. So attitude and focus, you know, you got to change your focus every time you have a negative focus, change that lens. And then, you know, I always think about this. Attitudes are so important. You can have a good, you know, we have friends. We have friends that have not so good attitudes. And then we have friends that are always positive. And you got changes. You got choice. You can be positive, negative.
Yeah.
You can have a good attitude. You have a bad attitude. All those things affects our health.
Right.
And I'm so glad that you were here today because we're talking about mental health. And Don and I have been talking, and Louie have been talking about physical health. I mean, you want to shed some pounds and you want to exercise this spring. Spring and summer is the best time, I think, to get out there and lose some weight. And I got to get into my bikini size body, you know, and stuff like that. So that's a good time. So physical health is really good. Spiritual health. Yes. I mean, honestly, if they don't have Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, the rest of it doesn't work very well.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So you're exactly right. We did talk to most of our people today. They are Christians, but we do have people that are struggling as Christians because it's tough out there.
It is.
And then we have people that are not Christians, but they're kind of wondering about it and stuff like that. Don and I are going to have a great guy on pretty soon, John Wilson with Light the Way.
Yes.
And because in July 7th and 8th in Christian County, thousands, 10 to 15,000 people a night will be there at the Light the Way concert. And this year we're trying to get young people. So we're going to try have enough money raised that we can let every teenager in free.
Oh, wow.
And they're going to be musical talent from all over the world, top Christian performers. And I think that's a group that's really lost right now is those young people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because they're right in that target age where I feel like the devil hits them hard anyways, because they're so hormonally messed up going from childhood to adulthood anyways. I used to listen to KWFC here in town, and they always said the birthdays in the morning. And then when someone turned 13, they're like, oh, the brain fairy come and took their brain. It'll bring it back when they're 21. I contend it's probably closer to 25 before they bring it back. But anyways, but they're right there in that hard stage anyways. Right. And then everything else is hitting them now.
Well, Synova, thank you so much for coming. And everybody, you know, you can create the culture that you want. Take charge of your own life and the culture around you. And I know that's what you do every day, Lynn.
Yep.
And thank you for joining us. And we could talk
values the old time family. They dream this land stays free under God, not tyranny. That's what it means to really dream. 1, 2, 3. Can I get a hoorah from a patriot like me? Can I get an amen? Do I hear a hallelujah? Can I get a hoorah from a patriot like me? That's what it means to really dream.